Hello, my name is Michele, and you're listening to Profit is a Choice. Joining me on the podcast today is Joann Kandrac and Kole of Kandrac and Kole Interiors, based here in the Atlanta area. Kole and Joann have been together for about 18 years, and they do something every year that has just really been inspiring to me. And that is they go on a mission trip to Guatemala to help those in need. And on the podcast today, Kole and Joann are going to share about the process, how they came together as business owners, how they implemented this, and now how they have embraced this and look forward to it every year. There is truly profit in giving to others, and you're going to experience that on the podcast today. Every day, empowered entrepreneurs are taking ownership of their company financial health and enjoying the rewards of reduced stress and more creativity. With my background as a financial software developer, owner of multiple businesses in the interior design industry, educator, and speaker, I coach women in the interior design industry to increase their profits, regain ownership of their bottom line, and to have fun again in their business. Welcome to Profit is a Choice. Hey, Joann and Kole, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I have been big admirers not only of your podcast, but of your design work for many, many years. And we're all in the same general location of Georgia and have met multiple times, but I'm just super excited. You guys have a lot of really fun, interesting things going on, and I'm excited for the listeners to hear about that today.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. So I'd love to get started just to kind of set the tone for what we're going to talk about, which is kind of that idea of building enough profitability into our company that we can, if you will, use those resources well and, maybe give our time, our energy, our money to other things that are near and dear to our heart. And I know we had a little pre-conversation. Making money and having a successful business isn't just for us as the owners. I mean, certainly we're going to reap the benefit, but we're also going to reap the difficulty if it's not profitable, right? We're the ones who ultimately pay that price. But the goal in all of this is so that we can bless others and that we can do other things in our lives, not just accumulate more stuff. Mm-hmm. Would you agree with that?
Yes. And when you're not stressed about money, you're in a better headspace for sure.
Absolutely. So since that's going to be kind of the main thrust of our conversation, I'd love for our listeners to hear, you guys are a dynamic duo, how you started your business. Did you start separately? Did you start together? How did you pull this love of interior design, into the same pathway? How did you get to where you are now?
Well, we've been in business together for 18 years. I believe we knew each other for 2 before that, but we both worked at a store way back called Decorating Mart. And it was a big showroom that sold wallpaper, fabric, accessories, all that kind of thing. And at the time, I had worked there for several years doing the buying and doing merchandising of the showroom. Kole then came in and started working there. And we really liked each other. We had fun. And one day, the owner was at the front area. Kole happened to be up there. And another designer came in and said, would you like to do a show house? We're doing a show house at Governor's Town Club, which was really an up and coming neighborhood at the time. And he was like, no, we don't do that kind of thing. And Kole said, Myron, we should do it. I think it would be great. Joann and I'll do it. She didn't even, ask me. And she said, I think it'll be really great. And he was like, okay. So that's kind of how it all sort of started. We worked on the show house together. We did the second master suite, and we just we were in sync very much so with our design, our personalities. Our lives were very similar, and we really, really enjoyed it. And so after we got done and we were working for a little longer, I don't know, Kole, did you come to me or I came to you and just kind of said, do you go off on your own?
Well, some other changes came about, and I was like, you know what? This is a sign. I think we're ready. I had only been there 4 years, but you'd been there 15
13.
or 13 or something crazy. And we were just totally ready to go off on our own. And so, I mean, we went straight down to City Hall and signed ourselves up for a S Corp and got an accountant and got a sales and use ID and hung a shingle. Like we meant business.
Yeah.
Wow, you did that quickly. Let me ask you this. I'm curious, did you stop and do all of the big business planning? And did you talk about how you guys were going to work together? Did you go, are we 50-50 in this? Are we 40-60? Like, what are we both bringing to the table? Did you do any of that pre-planning? Or was it like, I think we're both going to be all right. Let's just make it work and figure it out as we go. Like, what was your mindset around that?
I think it was a little bit of both because we had, I did a business plan and just because I'd done one in school and I figured that's what we were supposed to do. Whether we ever looked back on it, I'm not really sure, but I figured, I don't know. I think if we go to an accountant and we want to do a buy-sell agreement and we want to do all these things, he's probably going to ask for it. So, but we had learned from one of our good friends from our Ladies Who Launch Days, Tanya, who had said to us, you when you start your own business, you're kind of like a boxer in the ring. You know, in the boxer, when the bell rings and he goes to his corner and he's got all these people, you know, putting water on himself and, you know, and fixing the injuries, you got to have those people in your corner. And so you got to have your attorney, your accountant, your buy-sell agreement, your business, but you got to have those things in place. So we took that seriously and we did do all that in the very beginning. And we decided early on that we would be 50-50, 100%. And that's probably been one of our secret sauces because it just has made life so easy. I was coming in with a lot of, with a little black book of clients that I'd had over the last 4 years. But Joann was coming in with a lot of buying knowledge. She'd been to High Point a million times. And so we both were coming to the table with some serious assets. So 50-50 was just the way to make it the most fair.
I think not having separate businesses to start out with probably helped because we both were not having our own businesses certain ways. We kind of came together and we created it because we've had other designers come to us and say, you know, we want to merge our businesses. You know, what do you think about that? And a lot of those have been a little bit tricky. So I think when you're starting kind of from scratch, that really helped. But then organically, we just had different strengths too. I mean, Kelly is great with the window treatments. I knew more about wallpaper. So a lot of the things really were even unsaid. You know, we'd work on a certain project and we just knew who was going to work on what. It's really, really kind of scary.
Yeah. Well, okay. So a couple of things I have made note of and that I've seen. You guys, I think you are different. You do have different strengths, but you also both seem to have this wonderful sense of humor and this true affection and respect for each other. But you also bring this laughter. Like when I think of Kandrac and Kole, I always think two smart women, but they don't take themselves so seriously that they can laugh at something. And I think we can't underestimate just the joy in your heart that makes you just laugh over things, right? I think when two business partners come together and it's so serious, like it's such a transactional time together, it can get super serious. And let's be honest, if you guys have been together that long, you've been through a lot of ups, a lot of downs. The industry has changed. The economy has changed. There have been a lot of times, and I'm sure not everything has been, you know, easy. I'm certain of that just because I've been around that long too. And I know. So there are times that we have to kind of hold on and find lightheartedness and laughter in the journey.
Well, two words that you said are very true: affection and respect. And I think we've always had that for each other. And we realize that we're better together. And we may have very small disagreements, but they come and go very quickly. And so I think that's a big part of it, is you have to really respect and like the other person. And I think our lives are very similar too. We have the same type of husband. We both have 2 girls. There might be a little bit of different stages because of their ages, but if a wedding's going on and I need time off, that's one thing. Another one's moving. So we don't beat ourselves up. We, give each other, make them feel good about, okay, yeah, you can take that time off. I'm not going to make you feel guilty about that because I'm going to need that time off. So we just, we really help each other out that way.
Right. I think that's sometimes the couples, I'm going to business couples that I've worked with, they either come at it because they both think that they each have a great business. I love the idea that you said we both didn't have a business, so we could kind of build a business together, right? But then also they come at it thinking they have to agree on every single thing. And you take any 2 people, they're not going to agree on every single thing all the time because we're individual, but it doesn't mean we can't work together. And the foundation for the care and the respect for what the other one does and brings to the table, the fact that you guys early on, even if it wasn't maybe in the forethought, acknowledged the strength of the other person and how it was different but complementary to your strength, I think is really probably a huge part of your continued success. Would you see it that way?
Very much so.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, let's be honest, we work in luxury design. Really? What are you going to get upset about? The mattress doesn't fit through the door?
Could you say that louder for the people in the back, Kelly? Say that one more time.
I said we work in luxury design. I mean, what are you going to get upset about? The mattress doesn't fit through the door. I mean, come on. Like we are lucky to be working in the industry that we're in. But honestly, I think it wouldn't really even matter really the business per se that we were in. I mean, from going through some personal things recently with your husband, I mean, what's more important than
that's right,
than your health and giving back to people that aren't in a good spot? I mean, we're there's not much we can really get uptight about.
Okay, so let's go ahead, Joann. You were going to say.
I was just going to say, I think the aura that you portray, and a lot of people say, you guys are always smiling. You guys are. I mean, I guess just because we've been in a good place for the 18 years. We work really hard. We're very proud of the business that we've built. We don't ever take it for granted. And it was so funny yesterday. We had a new client. And, we asked her about how she found us. And she said, well, I had read some things online. And then I went to your website and I looked at your faces and you looked so friendly. She thought, I'm going to like those girls. And so that's why I called. And I thought, wow, sometimes you go to an interior designer website, you may never see a face. You may see really beautiful rooms. And sometimes people get intimidated or think, oh, they're going to be expensive. So it's just, I think the fact that we are approachable, or people tell us that we are, has really helped us in business.
Yeah.
Oh, I would agree. And I think, I feel the same way. I think I walked up and introduced myself to you guys years ago because you are approachable. And Kelly made the comment about we work in luxury design. And there is sometimes that you can hear some branding experts make it sound like in luxury design, you should set yourself apart, like to almost look aloof. And that's not really what I would say most of us want. We want to have an air of respectability, and we don't want to seem flighty and crazy. But at the same time, we have to make the process fun because and I know interior design, an entire home. Yeah, we're blessed because it's luxury and we get to do it. But there can be a lot of details that can be overwhelming, that can shut us down, that can go wrong, that can feel expensive. Like there's a lot of the other real world challenges that also come with making it look so fun and effortless. So to have designers or people that say, this is going to be a process and there are going to be bumps, but we're going to get through it and we're going to enjoy it. And you can come talk to us if there's a challenge, or we need to be able to talk to you. That just allows your ideal client to go, that's who I want to work with. Like I want to work with people that take it serious, but also keep perspective. And I think, Kelly, that's your point, right? We take it seriously. Joann, you too. We're here. We have fun. We we take it seriously enough to know that if we're asking you for big dollars and big investments for your home, we're going to manage those resources well for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the mentality that I'm speaking of is really one that we internalize. I mean, in the face of our clients, of course, we're very lighthearted, but we're incredibly serious, and we're incredibly professional, and we're incredibly hardworking. So no detail is left unattended at all times. We're enormously high touch, but for ourselves to stay sane and to stay, have a good attitude all the time, it's kind of where we come from is, that kind of like, okay, let's really, have our heads on straight. And I have to say, giving back and going to Guatemala and all those kinds of things have helped us to maintain that. So we don't get too wrapped up in ourselves and stupid stuff.
So I've been reading a book. I don't know if you guys have read it. My my entire coaching team are all my clients. We're going through it, and it's called The Gap and the Gain. Highly recommend the book. But what it talks about is that we set up, let's say, ideals. And in these ideals, we then somehow measure ourselves, our business, our life, whatever, against an ideal. And most of the time when we're measuring against an ideal, we always fall short because the ideal is always changing. The ideal is like the horizon. It's always moving. It's better if we take an ideal, use it for inspiration, and then set goals and then measure against the goals. And then when we do that, it's better if we take a step back and say, this is where we were and this is where we are now. Like, look how far we've come, so that we're dwelling on what we've gained. We're dwelling on the positives. We're dwelling on the blessings instead of dwelling on, look at the gap, but we didn't get this, but we didn't make that, but we're not there yet, which we're never really there. Right? Because when we get there, we move the there, if you will. And I think that's really kind of what it feels to me that you're kind of expressing as well, is we are looking at what we've gained. We're looking, not to say that there's not room for improvement, not extra goals we can set, but you're also looking at perspective. Look how far we've come. Look how we've been blessed. Yes, we work hard. Yes, we do all these things. But you're looking at that which keeps a more positive attitude than falling into a fear-based attitude or a negative attitude by always looking at what's missing. And I tell you, once we go to Guatemala, once you go somewhere and see what they're missing compared to what we're missing, talk about changing a perspective, that'll do it.
Yeah, I think perspective is a really big deal because you need to be reminded. You get kind of on that wheel. Yeah. And if you don't remind yourself, you can really get carried away. So I feel like we do have really good perspective. We don't, work ourselves to the grind. And then we just had Michele Boyd on our podcast, and we were talking about that, how, sometimes you can get yourself working so hard that all of a sudden you get so into it that you're not allowing yourself, for your mind to go somewhere else. Take a vacation, do these different things so that you are not so in your business that it's,
that you can't work on your business.
That's right.
To get away from it. And Kelly and I do that a lot. We have our Panera days where we get out of the office, we sit at Panera with our computers, and we don't look at our email. It's like, all right, what are we going to focus on now? And it's because otherwise there's never any time. You have got to make the time.
That's right. That time has to be crafted. It has to be, set apart as if it is. Here's the thing. As a business coach, I tell people I come in to help you design your business the way that you're helping other people design their homes. And the only way that you can help somebody with designing their home and making the presentation to them is for them to block their calendar to meet with you to give you that information. So if we're not doing the same thing for our business, there's no way for us to design the next place or the next thing. It doesn't just happen. I wish it did just sometimes happen while we slept at night, but that's not how it works. I'm curious, how long into your business relationship was it before you all thought about how do we give back in maybe a more substantial or a bigger way? How did you get started with even the thought process that took you into kind of what you all have been doing for the last few years?
I think the initial one was Erica Ward.
Yeah.
She was doing
Service Atlanta.
And she had asked us to help with that. And so it was a
That was what, Joanne, that was like
That
so in
was
the beginning. I mean, that was probably a
very
year.
much in the beginning.
Yeah.
I love
And-
her. I've coached her before. She's been on the podcast. She's amazing.
She's
Yep.
one of the nicest people, so genuine.
Yes.
We love her.
Yeah.
And so I think, her reaching out to us and us doing that project, it was like, wow, it was the United Methodist Children's Home.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a room for the boys. It was a location where boys that had come out of the foster system that were then turning 18 but didn't needed help further. So it was their
Kind
dorms,
of like a
their-
halfway place.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so, oh my God, what the before and afters, I mean, really give you the chills. And we thought, wow, this is really life-changing for these guys. So that kind of was what started, what kind of started it. Dwell with Dignity, we've done work with them. But then Guatemala, actually, really, Kelly, just go ahead, Kelly. You can tell kind of how you got started and then how it ended up being what it is now.
I want to say it was, I don't know, Joanne, let's see, like not that far in, like maybe we've been together 18 years, maybe 5 years in. And I just was like, I don't know, I just needed to get my head out of, places. And my church was having this, mission trip. And so I dragged my best friend with me, Dina, and we went and it was great. I didn't quite love the way that particular program was run. But I loved the country and I loved some of the people that we met there. And I figured, you know what, I'll just go back and I'll just do this my own way that I'm more comfortable with. And so I just stayed in touch with this one missionary couple, American couple that I'd met there. And I went back the next year with my daughter and like 2 friends. And then that was 10 or 12 years ago. And now I go every June and I rally a team. I've had 26, I've had 15, I've had 7. And we stay with our friends at Catalyst Resources International, the people I met from the very beginning. And it's kind of changed a lot for us, and just in terms of our headspace and just the feel goods. And it's good. It's been organically kind of a side thing. It's been great PR for us. It was never meant to be that, but I think people view us differently when they see that we do make time to give back. But really, I mean, anybody that knows who is philanthropic, you get way more than you give. I mean, that's just, blessing of it all.
Yeah. What types of things do you do when you go to Guatemala? What are some of the things you all do?
Our trip, we do, it's kind of, it's almost the same every year. I change it up a little bit, but we always go to build a home. So Catalyst Resources International has kind of a plan. We build a little two bedroom, it's like a 3-space home. We literally arrive in Guatemala to a small plot of land where they and the pastors have worked together to grant this to us, a family in need. And I'm not lying, it's a pile of wood, pile of lumber, what would you say, Joann, like a 12 by 12, 13 by 13 concrete pad, and like 2 Rubbermaid bins filled with nails and drills and gloves and what have you. And we have a foreman on our team who knows kind of how we're going to start framing and building the walls, because it's the same house, they've built like hundreds and hundreds at this point. And so we build the home, and Catalyst Resources International also supports 2 orphanages. And then another friend of mine has another orphanage. So we always visit the babies and see what they need and bring them a whole bunch of goodies. And then we spend a day or 2 doing maybe some more higher end activities where we enjoy the country, and we might stay at a monastery turned 5-star hotel for a night, and we drink wine and enjoy the countryside and love on Guatemala. So, and shop, of course. So
But you're giving back,
it's
you're
a
giving
week-long
back all
trip.
kinds of ways, right?
Yeah.
Back to the economy.
We support the economy. Don't
Economy,
worry.
that's right,
Yeah.
that's right. Okay,
Yeah.
so one thing just to even think about perspective, a 12 by 12 or a 13 by 13 home with 3 spaces,
Mhm.
that is smaller than some people's bedrooms.
Mhm.
1 bedroom in these homes that we work in and that we have, right?
But what's interesting, Michele, is what they lived in prior to that was literally, the silver corrugated stuff.
Yes.
It's literally like, the
An
playing
A-frame.
card houses you would make,
Yeah.
like you make when you play cards and that's kind of how they are. And the floor
It's a
is
shack.
dirt. Yeah, and the floor is dirt. And some people are lucky to have gotten a mattress from somewhere, but if not, they're just either sleeping on the floor and they're all like sleeping together.
Yeah.
And everything they own is in this little shack. I mean,
It's in bags, really.
it's
Right.
really
So let's think about perspective as like a point in the middle here, like right in front of my face. Let's think about perspective as a point in the middle. They're over here in a shack. So from the shack to this, home, that when we were talking about the gap in the gain, that's that for them. Look at that gain.
Oh,
Right?
it's hard to wrap your head around, really. When
is.
you think that they have windows, they have a door that locks, not just
That's right.
a cloth little, doorway. They have a concrete floor they can sweep. They won't get wet when it rains. They won't be cold. They are secure and safe. It's endless.
the appreciation that they have too as well on the day where you basically dedicate the house and present everything to them. It's so emotional. It's really, I mean, I have that lump in my throat. I'm trying so hard to keep it together. But it's just undeniable because you see their faces and they're so overwhelmed. And we know that, their lives have been changed drastically.
Right.
Yeah, forever. I mean, when you think about the psychology of it all and how if you sleep better, you feel better, you feel safer, you feel, then your work, you can do more work. You might go to school today because you feel better, and then
Right.
and then the education rolls, and then I mean the benefits of a safe and healthy and soft place to land at your head at night is just beyond. And we furnish the whole thing with beds and sheets and blankets and lots of food and a pure water purifier. And this time we just went in June. There was only 7 of us, but we went to like the local like Lowe's. And I mean, we were whipping out our credit cards like you've never seen. That woman had more in that house than any of her neighbors or any of her relatives. We got her a pila, which is like this concrete basin. It's huge and it sits outside. It fills with rainwater, but that's how she washes dishes and how she washes clothes, so she doesn't have to carry all of the clothes several miles into town to the public basin. We bought them this huge reservoir that holds rainwater with a tap so that they can then fill the pila or put that water in their water purifier. And we also bought and built them a stove that costs $150. I mean, seriously, but it's a beautiful stovetop and it vents outside of their house. Whereas prior in their little tiny shack, they were cooking over an open flame and all that smoke and black is all in their lungs. And, every baby in Guatemala is sniffling and has respiratory issues because this is how they cook in the villages.
So again, let's look at perspective there, right? The perspective that we would have living in the homes and the luxury and the thing, even our non-luxury is more luxury than.
And keep in mind, they don't have electricity or running water. This is like, but they are the Prince of Bel Air. I mean,
Yes,
with this house. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah.
So
it's so funny.
Go ahead.
The very first time that I went, Kelly had been several times before the time I went. And so coming home, and most people will tell you if once they have this kind of experience, coming home, it takes you a couple days to really wrap your head around. You think about like Costco and like it just what we have here is just so unbelievable. But we happened to be working on a bathroom at the time. And so when we got back, we got a call or a message that, so-and-so, the couple had decided that they want to go with the temperature controlled for their shower so that, her temperature would be, there was just a button and then his would be. And it just struck me. And I'm thinking, wow, these people don't even have water. And we have the luxury of creating the temperature when we walk into this beautiful shower for him and her. And it's just like, I guess, whatever you're born into, it could be any of us,
I was getting ready to make that same kind of comment. So I went on a mission trip to Portugal to work with Angolan refugees. So they had fled from Angola during war and had gone to Portugal. They spoke Portuguese. And so it was kind of like some of our immigrant population coming into the U.S. They had gone there. We went in to help them set up house churches because they couldn't, two things. One, they were looking for their own way of worshiping that they had been worshiping in Angola, so an Angolan church. But the cost to get there was prohibitive because they were going to have to take public transportation, and they were not able to afford for the whole, believe it or not, couldn't afford for the whole family to get on a bus to go to church once a week. They would choose one person who could go to church. Like it might be the son who would go or the daughter who would go, and they would take turns on who got to meet in person. So we went in to help them set up home churches in their communities where they live so people could come in. But I can remember we went in one night in particular. It was our last night of working with them in their home. And we were there meeting with other missionaries who were on site. So we had been staying kind of in a dorm complex. I mean, it wasn't 5-star by any means. We were in bunk beds and dorm complexes and things like that. But we had been warm. We were fed. We had the things that we needed. And then we were taking public transportation to get into where they lived to work with them. Those people gave up their meal. They made this huge meal. And they wanted us to eat first. Well, we didn't know that they were going to make a meal for us, so we had already eaten. But we can't not eat. Yet they've not eaten and are waiting on us to eat so that they can eat. So we have to eat so that they will. Do you see what I'm saying? It's this weird thing. All right. So all of this happens. We're sitting here thinking about, both of you made the comment, how much they had given us perspective, how much they had brought us joy. Like what we weren't expecting that, but we were actually blessed in completely different ways than them, but equally, if not more, in some ways. All right. All that happens. They're thanking us. They're thanking our husbands, for being willing to let their family unit change, like just, not giving us a hard time because there's a group of women, we'd all left. And long story short, I come back home to my husband and my sons, and I've just had this experience. And I come back home to the ability to get in my car and go anywhere I want when I want to go. The ability to have enough food that I'm not worried about not having enough to feed myself for the day, right? Or my kids, or it was such a whiplash in some ways that first week or so. I had to work through my own, I have too much. I need to give everything away. I need to go down to simplicity. I need to, where am I not focused on what's most important? Where have I built value where there's really no value? Where am I not seeing people and I'm seeing things? Like it literally shifts the way that I think when I have those experiences. I can remember my sons being in church youth group and going on mission trips and coming home, and really, thankfully, I'd been on one, so I knew that they themselves as teenage boys were going through these struggles of how do I now see, how do I make sense that, and even more so, I think for us working in luxury environments, because it is such a big difference in some cases. And honestly, the longer we stay in our luxury ways and luxury businesses, the more we become accustomed to that. And it's important. And I'm not saying any of it's wrong. it's just a very different view. And the beauty that I think you two have in your perspective is you've seen both. So it allows you to kind of hold them in that tension together. Whereas if we're only in the life of luxury or we're only in the life of need, we don't always have that, the beauty of the tension. But the tension's heavy.
Yeah. And I would encourage anybody, no matter what your business is, and, you know, okay, so maybe you don't pick up and leave for a week to Guatemala or Portugal, but in some way in your own local community or, you know, nearby, get uncomfortable, get really uncomfortable, like put
like that.
yourself in that place and go help somebody and let them be the blessing to you, because it'll change the way you deal with other people, the way you approach your business, the way you calm your own anxieties and your own, you know, always chasing that gap, that ideal that you'll never get to. Like, relax, you know, it'll help you.
And it's very rewarding too on the other end. It just feels really good. There's a local company here called Sunshine on a Rainy Day, and they started this where they have contractors and builders and designers, and they find families in the area that have children with special needs, you know, wheelchairs or whatever. And then and this is all done through donations. And there's a lot of places locally too that, you know, you can use your expertise. If you're a contractor or a builder and, you know, you want to help out, it's just, you get so much from it.
It's funny. So Sunshine on a Rainy Day, love that. And they have a store down in Roswell, right?
Yeah.
Where designers
Great.
and people like donate. My entire bedroom upstairs, my guest room, I went there and bought things.
Yeah, it's like a high-end thrift shop, kind of.
Yeah, it's like a high-end thrift shop. A lot of different businesses that are maybe have excess, you know, items that didn't work, they can donate them. They can take the tax write-off and they can sell them.
They're opening a new place now, which I think is so great, because the Sunshine on a Rainy Day store, mostly new stuff. It isn't, but now they're opening Partly Sunny, which is scratch and dent and things that are more that you could fix up in DIY. So they're more things that are going to be, you know, price less, but yeah, Partly Sunny. So they're not like, you know, they're a little.
Oh, okay. Now I got to watch for that. Is that going to be in the Roswell area?
Yep.
Awesome. Yep. They do such a great job. You know, let's talk for just a minute, because you kind of both went that direction. How do they get started? I think first it's an attitude of saying, I want to have an attitude of giving back, right? An attitude of working, getting uncomfortable. I love that, Kelly, just get uncomfortable. And that's not a natural thing for most of us until we can start to remove the fear of uncomfortable, right? But choose to be uncomfortable, and then sometimes look for a need. I think there's also a multitude of ways you guys are giving with your talent, by the design, decorate, whatever the pieces that you do. You're giving with your time, you're giving with your money, and then you're actually giving with work. Like even the things that you don't know how to do. I can imagine the first time you went in and they said, we're going to build a house. You're like, excuse me, I've never built a house. So I can decorate that house, but it usually comes pre-made before I walk in there, right? Yeah. So I'm sure that there were some things you had to learn, but when you've learned them, now the idea, because I was thinking about it when you said, oh yeah, we go in and build a house. If somebody said to me, Michele, hey, shit, come on, let's go to Guatemala and build a house. I'd be like, girl, I don't think I am your woman. But you make it sound like, we look. Yeah, but you make it right. But you make it seem accessible, because there is somewhat of a plan. There is the lumber. There are things that we can do. And usually in these environments, people will show you and will help you and will come alongside you to do it. So they're not like just sticking Kelly and Joann out in the middle of Guatemala to build a house. I will say that Joann and let's see, on our last trip, you and Cindy and Jen, 3 women, cut every single piece of wood for that entire house. The 3 of them. I believe it. They leave me with the hammer, which, okay, I'm not going to complain. I've learned to swing a hammer, but yeah. So I was swinging the hammer for.
But you know what? It's such a, you know, to look back at that house. I mean, it's almost like when we're there, you're kind of on like autopilot. You're not sitting here thinking about oh, I'm hungry and whatever. You're like, you're just doing it and you're with the
Yeah.
group and everybody's doing it. And it just kind of happens. It's really amazing. It really is. I urge people to, try to do it. I mean, even if you don't want to go to another country, there's places like my husband belongs to Rotary. They do so many things for just for the community here. And there's
My
a lot of
husband worked
places-
with Habitat for Humanity. He went in and built houses around Atlanta years ago.
there's a lot of things that you can do.
I know we're all in the general Atlanta area, and there is a place that I took a group of women to, and we went and worked and helped with foster care. And so we weren't working directly with the children, but we were working with setting up the clothing and all the things so that when a foster child gets pulled out of their home in the middle of the night and they get placed with the family doesn't automatically have sheets and clothing and all the things for that child. And that child had to leave so they can come into, this is in Roswell as well, you can come in there and then you can shop for every season, beginning of school. And so we got to go in and help that. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to do things, even in your community. How would you say that the rest of your team members, and I don't just mean those that work directly, in your company, but your vendors and your suppliers, the idea and the knowledge of what you've done, of course, is people know it because thankfully you post about it to share and to show. And I think that's what's so inspiring. What kind of feedback would you say or response have you gotten first from those people that are other businesses or employees? And then I'd love to hear how your clients react to hearing this. Because you have to say to them, we're going to be building a house in Guatemala for the next week and a half. So we're really not, we're going to get your project to a great place. And then it's going to be cared for. We'll pick back up when we come. And most of us are afraid to tell our clients when we're on vacation, but they have to know, especially if you're going to post about
it. They love it. I mean, I think a lot of them donate. A lot of them are, so excited about it. We do have it as a link on our website because I think it's important. And so if people are kind of, stalking us, then they see that. Actually, I think we did get a job because someone loved the fact that we were doing something like that, which, wasn't the reason, but we've gotten a couple jobs, based on that, because it kind of shows maybe the kind of people that we are. And so I think that I forgot your question. I was just rattling.
I was just wondering, that's true, but I've been
usually when she pauses, I pick up for her.
Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead, Kelly.
Slow on the ball.
Finish.
Go, Kelly.
I forgot where I was going.
Yeah, but they do. They most of the time they want to know, like, what exactly are you doing? And tell us about that. And I'm always recruiting, so I'm like, yeah, you want to come next year? And that's a lot of times how it happens is when we were gone just this past June, one of our clients was with us.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah, the client came with us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I won't call her out on the podcast, but we have a joint friend who has said that she has started thinking about joining you. So I will continue to encourage our joint friend to say yes to that opportunity.
Yeah, come one, come all. The year I took 26 and we built 3 homes, I almost like killed myself because it was herding cats. So I'm kind of like liking like the 12 number, somewhere around there for our teams, but it all works out.
Let me ask this when we talk again about, you now have built this kind of into the rhythm of your business, right? Into the rhythm of your life, which then impacts the rhythm of your business. So when you guys do your Panera days, do you sit down at that and say, okay, what is the week that we're going to be out next year? What do we need to do? Do you change up your processes a little bit so that if you're with a new client, we need to get most of our clients to here, or we need to get these things done so that we can step away without having to work? I'm sure cell reception is not always the best in some cases. So what do you do in preparation for your business to allow you with kind of freedom to go to actually, like Joann said, be in the moment of what you're doing as opposed to worrying about everything back here?
Nothing.
Yeah, we usually book it around the beginning of the year. We know it's usually a week in June, and it's on our calendar. And so as as we get closer into, let's just say, like, April, and we might be booking things for June, that week's already, closed off. So we're not, planning to do anything during that time. So it really isn't that bad.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing is, if you can't take a week off to go help the poor or go on vacation because you're like spent, then you're not really managing your business well at all.
That's right.
We take multiple vacations. We take multiple times off for philanthropic efforts. I mean, it's, what are you going to do? Be mad at us? We're gone for a week. I mean,
But see, that's the whole point. It's really not that hard if you just plan it. This isn't like you wake up June 1st and say we're leaving on the 15th. Like you said, we usually plan it in January.
yeah.
So in other words, that next summer you're already anticipating that in June we'll probably go again. So let's look in January, let's make a plan, let's put it on the calendar. And then as we get closer, let's just adjust the expectations of our team, our staff, our vendors, that we will be gone that week. And then we pick back up and keep moving. And I say that because sometimes for people that have never done this feels so big and so overwhelming. And like there needs to be so much that happens to be ready, that it really it's about creating it the same way as if it is a personal vacation. It gets put on the calendar, you plan up to it, you work around it, and you keep going. Is that?
Absolutely. I mean, it's on the calendar, flights are booked, commitments are made, like do that part so you can't get out of it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then of course we like kill ourselves the week before, like wrapping up all the little details and letting everybody know. And our team, in the office has their marching orders and like everything's, good. And we tell people we'll check email from in the evening, but really, unless the building's burning, don't call us. We're not working this week, and what's a week? Really? I mean, come on, what's a week in the span of things?
That's right. I said, again,
Yeah.
It's just perspective. Like it's a week. Come on.
It's a week.
And the truth of the matter is, I know that you guys aren't doing this just so that people will hire you. Like that's not it at all. However, I will say this. I was coaching with a client one time and we were starting to look at her luxury clients, right? Which they all are at this point, because it is a luxury to be able to call somebody to come do these things for you. And we were sitting down trying to find what is the thread that made her really great clients really great and made the other clients not so great. Do you know what it actually ended up being? It ended up being the ones who were most philanthropic were her ideal clients, because they had hearts that saw the need of other people. They had hearts of compassion. They had money, but money didn't rule their lives. They did not come into the design thinking that they were owed something. Like they just had a completely different life perspective on their own that they brought into it. So then we realized when we looked at those others, they had a lot of money, but it was more because their hearts were, I'm going to say that's why they were rich. They had a lot of money, but the way that they lived their lives were maybe a bit more stingily. They were maybe more about what's in it for me. You're working for me. It wasn't collaboration and kindness and respect. It was more of you're the hired help, get this done for me. And it was the philanthropy that we noticed was the tie. So then what we did is in all of her kind of interviews with clients going forward, we would start to ask questions about, are there any philanthropies that are near and dear to your heart? Because we give X percent to a philanthropy and we'd love to know what yours is. And then if they came back, we don't give any, we don't, you could tell. And it started to become one of those things that allowed us to figure out, is their view of the world similar to the way that we run our business and run our lives, so that we're not going to be at odds with each other on perspective.
Yeah, I think we could have a whole conversation on qualifying clients and the ideal client, but we don't have clients that think we're the hired help. That is for sure.
That's
and
right.
If that comes across in the qualifying conversation, like, could we meet on Saturday at 5? No. Monday through Friday, happy to meet with you. We spend time with our families and so forth on the weekends. So, that's
Right.
just
Yeah,
not.
but there are a lot of people who look at you as the help. We're just like the landscaper and the gardener and the nanny, and so yeah, our radar is up, and we can, we've been doing this long enough. We can kind of, pick them out and
But when people have a heart to give and a heart to support others and a heart to care about their own community, it's really hard to then turn around and
Yeah.
act a different way with somebody. So it really is. I think that's why too, when they see your website and they see your pictures, it does draw in your ideal people because they have the same want to help and to share their resources with others, whether it's their money, their time, or whatever. So I think it really is fun. All right, I have one question for you. If you were to look forward, is there any philanthropy or thing that you would want to do on one of your trips that you've not yet done? Do you want to build a school? Have you, not that I'm trying to make you build multiple schools, but is there anything that you are this is something that's kind of on my heart and I hope one day the opportunity shows up? Or do you feel like we're just taking it as it comes and we're enjoying it where we are?
I mean, I would love to take our podcast on the road more. Our podcast is 5 years old and it's called Inside Design with Kandrac and Kole for anybody that wants to listen. But we've only gone remote a couple of times and I would love, and now we're on video and on YouTube. So we could bring the visual of our efforts to more people if we did that. I mean, we put it all over social media, but I would love to sit and have a little conversation in Spanish with one of the little kids from the orphanage or one of the, kids that we're building a home for and show what we're doing. So I think we'll get there for sure.
What about you, Joann?
I hadn't really thought about it, I guess, because this comes up every year, but now I need to think about it.
We really don't say no that often. So
Yeah. If something comes to us.
Yeah. When a lot of local stuff comes to us for Sunshine on a Rainy Day, or we support No Longer Bound, or if when Erica and Deka did Room Service Atlanta or Dwell with Dignity approaches us, we never say no. So those kind of things pop up, as well. And we're always willing to give in some way.
That's awesome. Well, I really do. I have high respect, high regard for both of you, for the business that you've built and that you continue to stay in. That's no small feat. And I also thank you for your hearts, especially in the Atlanta area. I do think that people watch, even when you don't know. We all know that, right? People watch. Yeah. And even if they don't always reach out, like me calling you and saying, hey, can we talk about this? You inspire a lot of women to do things that historically women may not think. I could go build a house. So you inspire from that way, from just a business, being able to stop, take time off, have perspective. And I think it's amazing. And I think that's what most of us want to have. We want to give back and to build a business that keeps the whole economy going everywhere. We're not just doing this for us.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I think that's one of the things I really like about the podcast, because over the years, as we've done it, we've had a lot of people approach us and say, thank you so much for, I've learned this or I've learned that. And so, it's, as time goes on, it's more and more and more. Yeah. And, we get emails and, just people saying such great stuff. And I was kind of joking. A woman had sent an email about a episode she had listened to and thanked us or whatever. And so, she was telling me about, we had a session where we were asking, or had designers call in with questions. And one of the designers talked about, how do I find a part-time person and blah, blah, blah. And so she responded and said, I have a degree in pharmacy and whatever. I stayed home to work, be with my kids. But that sounds like something I might like, if you know of somebody. So I hooked the two of them together and I said to Kelly, we're changing lives. But it's exciting that.
Oh, I hope she hires her. It'll be so awesome.
I mean, would that be so great? I would feel so, so I think, just knowing you know, you know, you have a podcast, you don't know who's listening or what they're getting from it, but it's just really nice because a lot of people have given us feedback and have said thank you, and we appreciate your honesty, you know, about design, about your business, and just other things. So that just is a really feel good thing for us.
Yeah. And you know what, let's be honest, doing a podcast, it's enjoyable, but it's not easy, and it is costly.
Yeah.
Like there are costs associated with it.
Yes.
But at the same time, I love it. And that's what I was telling the both of you. I like that it's just, yours is very conversational. Mine's very conversational. You don't even realize the people that are being impacted. And it is a blessing for us to be able to have the opportunity to have a platform to even share our opinions or bring in the opinions of other people, even when we don't always agree with those opinions, but to be able to change the landscape of thought just by having the conversation, the freedom to have the conversation, right? So I think that is amazing, and it's fun to have you as my podcast friends. But I wish you both well. We're going to be putting your podcast link in the show notes. I want to encourage everybody to go listen to it. Really, really fun and well done. As you can tell, you guys are a blast to hang out with. And tell us where we can find you, your website, social media. Where can people learn more about what you're doing?
Well, we are, our website is kandrac-kole.com, and you spell it KANDRAC-KOLE. And we are at Kandrac Kole on Instagram, and you can
All the
find
places
from there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both so very much for coming on. I'm going to
Thank
encourage
you.
my friend to really reach out and say yes. And who knows, maybe one day I will join you out there.
You can do it.
I know, I would love to. I can remember when I had my drapery workroom, coming upstairs from the workroom, and I had on my tool belt with all my stuff on it because the doorbell rang and the UPS guy was there. And I'm like coming up like I got guns a-blazing, and he's looking at me. His eyes are big, and I think he was not expecting that. So girls rule. We'll just bring a pink tool belt and keep going. That's right. I like it. And I would swing the hammer with you, Kelly, because
Thank you.
if you
Thank
have
you.
anxiety and aggression, man, some hammer swinging can do it. And I can use the compound miter saw like nobody's business. So I could cut wood if I had to do that too. I have my own, believe it or not even kidding. So, but thank you both so much. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I look forward to hearing about your next June opportunity to go to Guatemala.
Okay.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you.
Joann and Kelly, thank you so much for joining. I feel inspired. I'm like ready to go look for the next thing and a way to give back to not only my community, our state, our area, and even around the world. So I just really thank you for sharing about the opportunities that are out there if we just take time to look for those. If you are looking for ways to strategize in your company, maybe you want to go on vacation or want to do something like this and you don't know how to take that week of vacation. You don't know how to communicate with your client. You don't know how to separate that time out. I would love for you to reach out for a discovery call. That's exactly what I can help you do. I can help you create a strategy to be able to go, a strategy to make money, to be able to invest, a strategy to hire the right team so that you can step away. You can find more at scarletthreadconsulting.com under the Work With Me page. And if you're interested in managing your finances so that you can make these decisions, check out matriquesolutions.com. Choosing to be profitable is always about more than money. It's about spending our time and our resources in the best way possible. And any time that we are investing in the lives of others is going to come back as profit for us. So remember, profit doesn't happen by accident. Profit is a Choice is proud to be part of the designnetwork.org, where you can discover more design media reaching creative listeners. Thanks for listening, and stay creative and business minded.